Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from Roto Wire here. The question and answer part of the stream starts at the top of the hour, 11 Eastern, 10 Central, so on and so forth. Right now, I'm going to give a little bit of a preview of some of the games. So if people that tune in and watch us can get a little bit of this highlight here. So that again, questions again start top of the hour. So Washington, Green Bay. Pace of the game, Green Bay is the third slowest pace in the league, where Washington is eighth fastest. So we're expecting middle of the road here. Again, those who are joining, I'm doing previews till 10 or 11, top of the hour, and then I'll take questions then. I think that we see at Washington here, they're terrible against the pass, but decent against the run. And so I think there's going to be that opportunity, and they're very bad against receiving backs. So big Aaron Jones day on tap here. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw a lot, and that slow pace probably keeps the score from being as crazy high as it could be. But remember, the Packers can be very efficient offensively. Green Bay, on the other hand, is a run funnel defense. We just have to see what Antonio Gibson is looking like here. Hey, Kevon, what's going on, man? Again, everybody, welcome aboard. I'm going to do previews of the games till top of the hour, then take questions and answers them. And so, again, we look at Green Bay as a run funnel defense. They're not great against the pass either. They're 19th, but they're 30th against the run. I don't know what Antonio Gibson's looking like here. Darren Waller, I'm very iffy on Darren Waller right now. I'll probably put him a 30% chance to play. That late week setback isn't good. So overall in this Washington game, it really hinges on how Gibson can play here to take advantage of them, because realistically, they're not going to be able to do much otherwise, I don't think. So and Sheldon, I'm going to take questions at the top of the hour. Right now, I'm going to do a little game preview for the 15 minutes, and then we'll get your questions. So if I don't get it, you'll have to repost it. I may have it on the screen for me. Jets in New England, here's my concern. So we know, and we predicted on the show, that Zach Wilson would be completely stymied by the Patriots last time. But now this is the second time they're playing. And I know Wilson's still a rookie and Wilson still isn't good, but adjustments are made. And I do think that the Jets come in with a little bit better of a game plan here. And, you know, the Patriots are beat up at cornerback now. I think Jonathan Jones is going to be out a long time. And we know that Gilmore's long gone, has been there all season. So I think realistically that the Jets could have a little success moving. Well, I'm not saying they're scoring 20 points here, but I think they could be in better shape than they were last time. So for DFS, the New England defense, maybe not as great as they were a few weeks ago in this rematch situation. Now, in terms of attacking, the Jets can get Crowder going out of the slot. He's a pretty good play this week on this team with a week with 6 buys and a lot of injuries. Not a bad play there. And in terms of the Jets defense, they give it up to number one receivers. Now, Jacoby Myers is kind of their number one. He's dependent on targets, but overall, the Jets are not a bad defense against the run. They're 17th. And so if the Patriots commit to it, they'll get things going. But they're playing a lot of 3 receiver sets. They're not playing 2 tight end sets. And I really think that's really slowed down what they could do offensively. They have the personnel to do it perfectly, but they're playing these 3 receiver sets, and they're making life more difficult for Mac Jones than it has to be. The Cincinnati-Baltimore game, if you're betting this game, consider the under. The Cincinnati is the slowest paced team in the league. Baltimore is the 7th slowest rate. And Cincinnati defensively, by DVOA Football Outsiders, 4th best against the run, 8th best against the pass. Baltimore may struggle to put up a lot of points here. On the other side of the ball, we know that Baltimore is very good at getting pressure, and they know that Cincinnati has to have this opportunity for Burrow to have time, and he doesn't get much time. So they're going to push the issue with him. And I fully believe that Marlon Humphrey is going to shadow Jamar Chase. So underneath, it's going to be Higgins and Boyd a little bit. And even they give up a lot of production to receiving back. So Joe Mixon's in a good spot here. Again, those with questions, I'm going to answer those top of the hour. I get a little pre-show here where I'm giving some previews on the game. Had a question about Deandre Swift. He is fully expected to play today. All right, now the Kansas City, Tennessee game, right, everybody should move the ball. There shouldn't be any issues here. Both defenses are absolutely bottom of the barrel. The one good corner Tennessee had is on injured reserve. He got hurt Monday night. And so there is nothing to worry about on either side here. I do think Kelsey seems to be healthy now. He was missing some practice time earlier. I do think Tyreek Hill is still a little beat up, and I think this is a completely huge eruption spot for Kelsey. I think that in DFS, you pay up for him. I played Tyreek Hill even last week, and I was happy with that. But I think this is the Kelsey week. And even though, of course, Derrick Henry is going to do his damage, I think we really look at A.J. Brown here, because those quick hitters and slants with this defense that has nothing in the middle, they're completely gutted, and they really have nobody to match them. This could be the eruption game for A.J. Brown, who seems to be getting over that food poisoning as the week goes on. It's been a problem for him. Again, welcome, everybody. I'm going to take questions and answers at the top of the hour, doing some game previews here for you right now. One more thing about Kansas City, Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill, and we really weren't on him without Arthur Smith into the season, and I still think that it's going to be a struggle of a year for him, but I think this is clearly a week where you could play him. I think there's going to be enough passing and enough running to go here there. I think they're going to be just fine. Again, those are questions, top of the hour. I'll be happy to grab those. We'll do little previews on the games here. Carolina and the New York Giants. So Carolina was great against bad offenses early in the season. Their defense was bringing them. And then when they played good offenses, it was problematic for them. Those on Instagram, I'm going to answer questions top of the hour. Julio is expected to play, though. And so back to this Carolina Giants game, I fully expect Carolina to bring a lot of pressure against a New York Giants line that does not protect well. Per Pro Football Focus, they're the second worst pass blocking unit, and their left tackle is out. So Carolina, although they're middling in pressure, this is a game where they can really bring a lot of heat. And we know the receivers and tight ends are all beat up for the Giants. Even the ones who are playing are less than 100%. So I think this is a really rough game for the Giants to score points here. And obviously Saquon's out as well. So the Giants are a really good play this week. I think if you're betting, you really could look that way as well. And realistically, when Carolina has the ball, the Giants are like the 5th worst against the run, 11th worst against the pass. And I do think Sam Darnold gets back on track here. I do think DJ Moore could get slowed a little bit by James Bradbury. I think he has a good game, not an eruption game. I don't think much of Robbie Anderson. I think he's just I think he's always been a situational deep threat who's just been, he was kind of forced into a role, and he was doing okay for a while last year. But I think he finally has been figured out as to what he is, and he needs to be used in the role he was used back in New York to show what he really is. Again, welcome, everybody. The questions and answers, we're going to start at the top of the hour. I'm doing a little pregame show for those who are preparing for their lineups here. Atlanta, Miami, look, DFS, and I know other people are talking about this. A lot of people are going to be playing the Kansas City, Tennessee players. I think a great place to look is Atlanta, Miami. Everybody's on the board here for production. You can really pick any way to go. Atlanta, the problem is that when on defense, they are just horrible against receivers, pass DVOA by Football Outsiders, 3rd worst in the league, and they are just getting killed there. They're even below average against the run. So Tua, who is probably playing for another place to go if they're going to trade for Watson, it's a big game for him. And I think he can really come up huge here. And any of their receivers could do well. So maybe Tua, maybe going to Mike Gesicki in a stack might not be bad. But any Dolphin players who are healthy on offense at receiver, they're all on the board as fantasy options this week. On the other side of the ball, I really think Arthur Smith has figured out things in Atlanta. Matt Ryan's been good in 3 of the last 4 games. They figured out Cordero Patterson. There are a lot of good things going on there. And I think coming out of the bye, they're going to be even better. I think he's going to get that offense humming well. Atlanta, if you can acquire players from their offense now for your fantasy team, I think it's very, very wise to go after, because I think Smith is a special coach. And it just took him a while to learn what he had with that personnel. But I definitely like what they have going on there. This game could be a huge shootout. The thing I like best is Atlanta they're the 3rd worst pressure rate team per Pro Football Focus, and their best pass rusher, Dante Fowler, is out, because Miami has the worst offensive line pass blocking in the league. Well, they're not going to have anything challenging them. So that's a great spot. This game should be high scoring. And Detroit and the Rams, well, what else do we say? Matthew Stafford's playing his old team. They're in L.A. Sean McVay was really upset with Jared Goff because he couldn't run his offense, lost a couple of years, really. And so I think they're just going to, hammer him the whole game long. At some point, they may put the brakes on, but everybody for the Rams in play here. The only player I see, I think Hockenson is a bad matchup, because the Rams have been really good against tight ends. You're starting him in single season long leagues because you have to, but really the Rams are the 6th best team against tight ends per DVOA, Football Outsiders. But I think Deandre Swift obviously is a pass receiver. The Rams are below average against receiving backs, so Deandre Swift can go off huge here. Again, welcome everybody. I'm in a little pre-show right now, going through some game previews. I'll get to your questions at the top of the hour in about 5 minutes. Be happy to answer all those for you. So anyway, again, all the Rams are on board here. I don't see too many scenarios where they don't blow them out. And when Detroit's on offense, the Rams have been the 7th best pressure team. And we know that the Lions have lost 2 of their best offensive linemen. They're the 6th worst pass blocking team. So Jared Goff is in a lot of trouble. And obviously, McVay knows all of Goff's weaknesses beyond the obvious ones. And so this could really be a horrible spot for him here. Bet the under on his yardage totals for Jared Goff for sure. All right, let's see here. A couple more here before we get to the questions and answers in about 5 minutes. Philly and the Raiders. So we all know the Raiders are getting a great pass rush from their 2 outside guys, Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue. Well, the thing is that Philly's been good at pass blocking. They're their 5th best. They can contain them. And they get Lane Johnson back, who missed a couple games in a personal matter. So I don't think the Raiders pass rush gets home here. Now, Philly doesn't look to run. They have Hurts in the gun almost all the time, but I think this is a game where they're very productive through the air. I think that Hurts will run for his, and I think this is a great spot for Philly on the road. The Raiders, there's a good chance they're without Darren Waller. He came up with an injury late in the week. The latest report I tweeted out, I think Field Yates, it's going to be a game time call, which means even if he plays, he's not 100%. And Philly's corners are stepping up. Slay is playing like he did a few years ago. They're getting good corner play. I think this is one of those surprising games on the road where Philly bet the money line on them. I think they can come out and win this game. But I think their defense, which has been bad, they played some good offenses though. So they are like 7th worst against the run. But the Raiders have like one of the worst run blocking rates. They've been out without their starting guards for like forever. They've been on the injured reserve, and that line is really in transition right now. So I know some people like Josh Jacobs, and when he scores touchdowns, he's always there. But realistically, otherwise, not so much. I think the Philly can come in and win this game on the road. Chicago and Tampa, Akeem Hicks is out for the Bears. Just came up with this morning. That's a tough loss for them because any pressure they were going to get, that hurts. They have that 3-man thing going with Robert Quinn, Hicks, and of course, Khalil Mack, and that's going to fall by the wayside a little bit here. So we're very concerned here. But now the Bears played this 2-deep shell, and they're very good at keeping plays in front of them. So Mike Evans should have a good game, but I don't think he goes off because the Bears are very good at keeping him in front of him. Antonio Brown is out. Rob Gronkowski's out. So I think this is a game where Chris Godwin goes off because the Bears are willing to give you that middle of the field and the short stuff, and I think they're going to take it. Brady always takes, and Brady's fine with a 15-play drive. Brady's not that quarterback that's going to be impatient and have to take what's not there. So I think they're methodical. Bears on offense are in trouble. Now, I know Tampa's all their corners are out, but Todd Bowles is going to blitz the heck out of Justin Fields, and that's going to make it really difficult for the Bears. And I think that pressure is going to get home a lot, and they're just going to put him in a bad situation. And so I think this is one of those games. Hopefully Fields makes a couple of plays, but the Bears could really get buried here. And they're not going to run. You can't run on the Bucs. So even Damien Williams is back as probably his receiving back, and we already learned that we have Khalil Herbert looks very good. This is not a good matchup here. All right, what else do we have here? We've got about 2 minutes so we start the question and answer version of the show, everybody. Just doing a bit of the pregame show here. Houston and Arizona. So obviously Arizona wheels up, right? This is the J.J. Watt revenge game. This is the DeAndre Hopkins revenge game. The David Johnson revenge game on the other side. But seriously, Houston's really overmatched clearly here. Arizona's at home. Their defense is playing at a good level. Now, we don't know if Chandler Jones is back from the COVID list, but I don't think it really matters all that much. Nico Collins had 3,200 on DraftKings. Look, he's back. He got hurt in week 2. He's getting targets. I believe he's eventually going to be a star in this league. So I think he's a player that, you're taking a deep dive on. You got bye weeks. He's on the waiver wire in some leagues. You need a body in at receiver. He has a good chance of being productive here. Brandon Cooks always, he can run all the routes and he gets open at every level of the field. With the pass rush, it might be a lot of short stuff today, but I like him there. And of course, wheels up on all year. James Conner is the one player you might not normally play. He's a really good play because they could get a couple red zone touchdowns here, and he has been the guy in the red zone. All right, before I get to the questions and answers, the last thing, Indy and San Francisco, they both are very slow in pace of play, bottom 10 in the league each. And also, rain expected for all 4 quarters, winds 16 to 19 miles per hour. This is going to be a short passing game. Michael Pittman looks fine in that. A running game here, and it's going to be a low-scoring game in my opinion. All right, questions and answers to get rolling here. So I know I had one on Insta here, so let me take that one first. Justin Vince, for Michael Carter or Damian Harris. So Michael Carter is getting about 13 touches a game, and we love that. And he's getting receiving work as well. So that's a beautiful thing. But in a game that when New England is winning, Harris does get work. He gets a lot of carries. He can, I know Ramondre Stevenson is to get involved in there too. So overall, though, Harris is safer. He has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. I know Carter scored in a couple straight, but I think overall, Harris is your much, much safer play. Carter hasn't shown a lot of upside yet. He's getting better each week. I don't think he's there yet. I think New England can hassle him a bit. And so I think that at the end of the day, Harris is going to be able to do what Harris does, and the Jets aren't going to have much of an answer. The Jets haven't been great against the run this year. They're 17th in rush DVOA, whereas Carter's facing a New England defense as 9th. So it's a much tougher matchup for him. I know he catches some passes, which helps. Great question. All right. Let's see what I'm going to say. Let me get over to all right, back to now. Get to the questions and answers on everybody here. Remember, we have this going on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Randy, good morning. Shelton. All right. So we got it. Flex question, pick one. Robert Woods, Julio, or Damien Williams. We're going to rule out Damien Williams here because Herbert was splitting work with him when they both were healthy a couple of weeks ago. And against the Bucks, you can't run. He may get a few targets, but I don't even know that he's going to see much of that because I don't know what his conditioning is like because he actually had COVID. And so now it leaves with Julio and Robert Woods. So Julio left last week's game early with a hamstring injury in a game they needed him. So I'm very concerned about setbacks for him. That said, he has the bigger upside. He has that real low floor because if he gets hurt, he's done. But against Kansas City, he could go off for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Robert Woods isn't seeing a lot of targets. He had that one game they force-fed him, which we predicted here. But now I'm very concerned. He is a good middling floor play. So if you want to save points, you're going Robert Woods. But if you need a 25 because your matchup, you're an underdog and you need a big game, then it's got to be Julio. Carlson or Nick Folk. So, it's Carlson's indoors. We like that. There could be a lot of field goals against Philly. Philly can make them break down. I think the Patriots could score more touchdowns against the Jets than field goals. So I like Carlson because I think he's more of a field goal opportunity set there. All right, see any more questions on Instra? Oh, Justin, Vince, you're very welcome, man. Thanks for hanging in with us. Martin, Harris, Mike Davis, or Gibson? All right, so, man, everybody knows I love Antonio Gibson. The dude's playing with a stress fracture in his shin. Love his matchup. Green Bay is a run funnel defense is what we love to see. Harris is safer. They're probably going to lead this game. They probably win this game. They're a 7-point favorite at home. That lends to him having a good game. I know Ramondre Stevenson is getting involved, but Harris is still the guy there. Gibson, he could break a 70-yard touchdown at any time. I'm just very concerned with that injury. If you have a good option in Harris. So I'm just saying, you know what? You got a healthy guy in a good spot. I think you got to go with him. Mike Davis, your other two players are better. And Davis is really dependent upon a touchdown to come through because Cordero Patterson, he took 14 carries last week. So Harris is safer. Gibson always has upside because he's Antonio Gibson, but they're not even using him that much. They're spelling him. So that's my concern. Harris is safest. If you need 20 points out of your running back because you're in a game where you're an underdog, then you may roll the dice on Gibson because he can get you a 5 as well. But I think if you want that middling 10 points, 14 points, I think Harris is your guy pretty solidly there. Good questions. All right. Martin, let's see here. PPR format, same deal. I don't change that with the PPR format. Gibson has been getting enough targets to move him much past where he's at. Unfortunately, we're seeing the J.D. McKissick show quite a bit. A.J. Green or Christian Kirk, John Simmons. So A.J. Green, except for one game, he's gotten exactly 6 targets, but he's been very productive with those. Houston can't hang with him. Christian Kirk, on and off because of the targets. He's very good. He's in the slot where he functions extremely well. We love Christian Kirk in the slot. A.J. Green is safer at this point. He had that one game 2 weeks ago where he didn't do anything on 2 targets, but otherwise in 5 games, he's been money. And so I think we just got to say A.J. Green is safer. I believe, and you always hear me talk floor ceiling because those are an important part of your decisions. Green is your safe play. He's a solid play. He has some upside. Kirk is that guy. He always has 2 touchdown upside running out of the slot, makes a big play there. He's a good red zone option. I know Green is too. So is Nuke Hopkins. Nuke Hopkins, this is a revenge game, and I think they're going to get him some targets against his old team. He didn't leave on good terms there. So I think there might be more outside targets in this game. So I'm going to say AJ Green sees the outside targets a bit more. I don't know how much they're going to need to use the slot in this game. Houston doesn't blitz at all. They don't have a pass rush. So I think that Kirk is going to be held down a little bit because Kyler's going to have time. That's something he normally doesn't have here. Welcome on Instagram as well. If you guys have any questions, just guys and gals, when I say guys, I always mean everybody. That's just old Chicago guy, the way I talk, but mean everybody, of course. But post those questions up. Lucas J. Half PPR, pick 2, Alex Collins, Allen Robinson. This is a good question. Jacoby Myers and Sterling Shepard. Sure, Sterling Shepard, apparently the hamstring is not right. There's a good chance he doesn't play. There's a great chance if he plays, he doesn't finish the game. Love Sterling Shepard. We got to rule him out here, I think, because, it sounds not good. He had a setback Thursday with that hamstring. Hamstrings are tricky, right? So I think we got to sit him because of that. And Alex Collins, here's my problem. Rashad Penny's back, and Carroll loves him. And look, Penny ahead of him on the depth chart going into the season. So my guess is he moves back into that role. And so Collins backing. So it's not like Collins is the passing down guy. That's DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. So I think the problem is we're worried that Collins, and it's a Monday night game, we're very worried that Penny's in there and Collins gets 6 carries. And so that's problematic. So honestly, I know A-Rob's been bad. If he's going to do it any week, it's going to be this week because they've been using him shorter in the field because the way their offense is running. Tampa has no corners. They're going to blitz. Well, Robinson may be the hot read because normally they're going downfield to Mooney. They're not going to have time for that. So if you're going to use Robinson at all, it's got to be this week. And Jacoby Myers, again, the Jets are very bad against number 1 receivers. They always had a classic number 1, but he's their number 1. And I think Myers is in a great spot. They may not throw a ton, but 6 catches is definitely on the table here. Maybe gets that first touchdown of his career. But I'd say A-Rob and Myers. I think you got too much concern with Collins and Shepard there. Kavan, Brandon Cooks or Hollywood Brown. Yeah, so it's a tough one here. Brandon Cooks is always in play because he gets targets. There's a couple weeks he didn't get the targets that we wanted out of him. But, but Brandon Cooks is the man. He's the number 1. You're playing Arizona. Arizona, they do have good slot coverage, even though when he goes there, Cooks will play everywhere. They move him all over the formation. But he runs every route now. And, Davis Mills is getting comfortable throwing to him. And so Cooks has that floor. We love that. Now, Hollywood Brown has been phenomenal all year. He had the one game with the drops, and last week, not a whole lot. This Cincinnati team, they're like 8th in pass DVOA. They're really good against the pass. They're really underrated defensively. They're both slow-paced teams, both the Ravens and the Bengals. So, Brown can always get that long touchdown, but so can Brandon Cooks. I think Cooks is safer. We're going to follow the targets here. Cooks should see significantly more targets. Brown has drop issues. We're seeing that still. So I love Hollywood Brown, but I think Brandon Cooks has the floor and the ceiling, whereas Brown has the ceiling, but maybe not the floor. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at there. It's a good question. All right. Let's see where we're at next. Scroll down a little bit here. Here we go. Johnny, all right. Good to see you, man. And on Instagram, welcome as well. If you have any questions, make sure you pop those in the screen. I'll be able to see those for you. All right. Jameis Winston, Justin Fields, Tua. Oh, man. For me, this is an easy one. I like Tua this week. And I hate him as a quarterback. He's a good guy and all that. As a human being, I love him. But as a quarterback, to me, it looks like he has a pop gun for an arm. And I know it's his throwing motion, and I probably am misinterpreting that when I'm watching it on film. But look, this is the best matchup Tua is going to get. Atlanta is one of the 3rd worst pass rush teams in the league, and Dante Fowler, their best pass rusher, is out. So Tua will be under no pressure today. Atlanta can't cover. And Tua is in a phenomenal spotter, and he knows they're going to probably trade for Deshaun Watson. So this is his chance to audition for other teams. So I think Tua is going to be in great shape. And we already know Miami's not committed to the run. And so they're going to have to throw the ball here. So I absolutely love Tua this week. I'm playing him in some DFS. I actually got to look at the props. I got to get those in an hour before the game, but that's a player. I may be looking at some over on some props there. Should I drop Brandon Ayuk? Oh, man. You know what, Martin? Here's what I'm going to tell you. And tonight's going to be a bad barometer because it's going to be raining for 4 quarters, 16 and 19 mile an hour winds. So it's not an optimal environment. I wanted to see Ayuk come out of the bye to see how they were going to utilize him because they didn't utilize him. Look, Kyle Shanahan has not been himself this year. I'm noticing he's benching players for whimsical reasons. he sabotaged his quarterback, Trey Lance, by putting a fullback on the field. Arizona put 3 defensive backs on the field, knowing there was no way with the formation with the fullback they were going to throw, and they basically screwed over his rookie quarterback. He had no chance. So now I don't know what Shanahan's doing, but out of the bye, if Kyle Shanahan had a look in the mirror moment, what am I doing here? Then Brandon Ayuk becomes a factor because Ayuk is an amazing player. He's just not being used right now. I don't drop him right now, and I don't base this week's game because of the potential horrible weather. I wait one more week, and I see what he does. Now, if you're desperate and you got to get somebody, fine. I've got to see him in week 8, and if he's not utilized heavily in week 8, I drop him then. But I think there's still a chance he could be a top 40 receiver. If they use him well, he is a great player. I believe that in my – from what I see on film and what I saw last year, he is that. It's the coach got to get it figured out. Big Ham 100. Stevenson, Herbert, or Jamal? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, full PPR. You know what? All right, so all 3 of these guys have floor. They might not get anything. So on that, I'm going with Stevenson. Stevenson had 3 targets this week. He can catch the ball. We saw that in the preseason. Belichick actually talked him up, which was rare. He doesn't usually talk rookies up. Of course, then he benched him because of fumble in week 1, and now he has some pass pro issues. But I think Stevenson still has a lot of upside. And if they're winning in the second half, he could be their closer because Damien Harris is getting dinged every week. I like him this week, but they would take him out if they had the chance to put in the closer role. Herbert, you can't run on Tampa, and Damien Williams is back. Was going to take passing work. Not that Herbert's a receiver anyway. We don't have a book on him yet for them. Jamal Williams, we keep seeing Swift's usage go up, up, up. Williams going down, down, down. Swift, I want to say it's like 73, 74, and 78% of the snaps in the last 3. And Jamal Williams now, he's about a 20% player. So I think Stevenson's your guy here. I think of the 3, the one with the safest 6-point floor, it's probably Williams has a close to that. 4 to it's very low though. And I don't. Could he score? Of course. Any NFL player with a skill position could score at any time. So that's on the table. But I think Stevenson is probably your better player because I think he gets at least as much work as Williams, and he really looks good. Good question. Instagram, I see you guys there. I don't see any questions though. So as soon as I get those, I'll answer those for you as well. Randy, all right, you need a running back and a flex non-PPR. AJ Dillon, Sony Michelle, Ramondre Stevenson, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Mecole Hardman. You'd have to drop Mooney for Hardman. Love Mooney. And I wouldn't drop Mooney because Mooney has been actually very good in most games. This is not the great week for him, I don't think, because if Todd Bowles blitzes a lot, the downfield stuff isn't going to be there. And Mooney's been used downfield. He's been their downfield receiver. This week, it just isn't a really good match, but I would not dump him. Running back wise, Dillon is getting 8 to 13 touches in a week. It's a pretty good floor he's got going there. And Washington is certainly not an oppressive matchup. They're better against the run than the pass. So I think Dillon's a good floor play here. I think Stevenson is that boom bust there where Stevenson has more ceiling because he looks like he has some explosiveness there. But you're non-PPR, so that takes away a little of that as well. I do think Dillon's your better running back player. I'm going to say Dillon because we kind of have a secure role. Stevenson, we're not still quite sure. Bill Belichick trusting him week to week, that's tough. And at receiver, Bateman saw targets last week. We like that. He took the Sammy Watkins role on, which is good for 40 yards a week for Watkins until he got hurt. Now, Bateman is his first game. He only had about 30 yards, I think, last week. And we know Cincinnati's been top 8 against the pass per DVOA, but I think he's seeing targets. And I think that he's going to be the less focal point. And now it's not coming to my mind here. One of the corners I'm going to look this up. Trey Waynes is on injured reserve. So that even helps out Bateman a little bit. I think Bateman is not a bad player. He's not a huge ceiling, but I think he's got enough floor to get you by here. Hardman, he's been playing well. He's had a couple of good games. I don't think they need him here. I don't see their teams are going into that cover set, put 7 guys back or 8 guys back. And Hardman is thriving in that because that design of those defenses take away Tyreek Hill. Tennessee's got nobody. And I don't think they need to lean on Hardman this week. So I think it's not a great option here. If you've got Nico Collins on your waiver wire, I would drop if you're going to drop Mooney anyway, which is fine. Nico Collins, I'd plug him in over all of those. He may not be in your waiver wire though. But otherwise, it's got to be Bateman. Johnny, what do you got here? Let's see. You got Jalen Waddle, Brandon Cooks, Corey Davis. So, and I do think that the Jets are going to do a little better against the Patriots than the last time. 4 interceptions per second. We called that one. We knew that Bill would confuse them, but now they're playing again. I think the Jets are a little better against them. I still think that Corey Davis is the player they're going to look to limit. Crowder, I think, has a good game. I think they'll look to slow Corey Davis to take away the perceived number one option. And I think that's not difficult for the Patriots to do. They're down corners, but I still think they would probably be more likely to double him and, let Crowder run free over the middle a little bit. So I think that I'm a little concerned there. I love Brandon Cooks every week. He's had a couple of down games, but we see it. I mean, he's their number one. He runs every route. They move him all over the formation. He can beat coverage, whatever they throw at him. I just think he has that floor, which is great. And then he has a ceiling as well. And Jalen Waddle, the depth of target's the only thing I don't like. And the matchup's beautiful. And you can't go wrong with Waddle or Cooks here. If you're PPR, I mean, he could get, 8 catches, but Cooks could get that too. So I just think Cooks is a better player at this point, and he is the guy. If Devontae Parker's back, then Waddle might lose some targets there. If you got a gut feel on Waddle, I get it, and you use him. But I think Brandon Cooks is just a dude, man. I drafted him pretty much everywhere, and I use him as a wide receiver too. And we get the down week, 1 or 2 of them, but he comes through like every week. All right. Robert, and I'm seeing, hey, Instagram still there. I don't see any more questions. I'm glad you're here, though. And so if you have questions, pop those in, and I'll get to them. Robert, you've got the flex. Antonio Gibson, Justin Herbert. I love T. Higgins this week. Devonte Freeman, Devonte Smith. Okay. All right. So, since you have good options, I think we don't take the risk on Gibson's shin. I think I love Gibson. Like I said, I got him in every league, I think. Maybe one. Well, the leagues I picked first or second or third, I don't. And, in the top, I don't have him. Everywhere else, I got Gibson. Fortunately, I picked up Patterson. If Patterson's on your waiver wire, pick him up, because if Gibson goes down, he goes into a big role. Anyway, so I think you have enough good players to sit him. I love T. Higgins this week, and here's why. Baltimore is going to bring pressure on Burrow because they know that's his issue, and the Bengals can't protect. Well, they're also going to take Marlon Humphrey because they shadowed last week. They're going to shadow him on Jamar Chase because he's the guy to take out. So that leaves Higgins to the short and intermediate area of the field. And with the pressure schemes Baltimore's going to bring, he's going to be the quick read. I think Higgins could be in for 6 to 9 catches here. And he is an outstanding player. He hasn't had 2 good games. 2 good games he hasn't been in a row. Chase has done all the damage. This is Higgins' week. And I think he's in a great spot here. Now, Devonte Smith, he's in a good spot as well. Tough to argue with him here. Now, the Raiders, I said their pass rush might not get home this week because the Eagles are very good in Lane Johnson's back. So those Crosby and Ngakoue have been getting pressure. I don't know they get the big pressure this week. This is the week where they've been taking advantage of some of the weaker edges. This week, not so much. So Devonte Smith's a solid play. So I think Smith is a good floor play, but when corners get physical with him, I'm seeing this. He has the down games and corners get a little more physical with him. The games where there's a little less of that, he does really well. They both are, if you have a gut feel, go, but I'm going Higgins. I got him in DFS. I think Higgins has a big week here. But again, if you got a gut feel for Devontae, you can't go wrong there. He's getting work. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. And still looking on Instagram. Don't see any questions. Feel free to pop those in if you have them. All right, Big Ham, Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, or Ramondre Stevenson. Feel like I answered a close one to this before. Sound like a typical week 7 question with all the bye weeks. So Herbert, look, now Damien Williams is back. So he's not going to see that 85% snap share he saw last week. And how much can the Bears run? They have no offensive line in Tampa. You can't run on Tampa anyway. So I don't see him having opportunity. When Miles Sanders piled up that yardage late against them, Tampa already had the game won. They just basically went into a shell and they were fine. They didn't really care about him. And so he ran there, which was fine. But so that anybody against the Bucs, that troubles me. Jamal Williams, my problem is his snap share is going down, down, down. Swift, 78% last week, and obviously who's the odd man out for that? Jamal Williams. And it's been 73% plus 3 weeks in a row for Swift. So just Jamal's not seeing that work. So, Stevenson has floor because Belichick could bench him at any time. But overall, he's had double-digit touches 2 weeks in a row. So to me, he's getting his foot in. You're risking it, but I think assuming Bill Belichick doesn't play one of his games, Stevenson's a strong play here this week. If you're worried that Belichick pulls him and you're very concerned there, then Jamal Williams may have a better floor than Khalil Herbert this week because, again, that Tampa matchup is brutal. But I'm going to go with Stevenson, and I understand there's a floor, but I believe there's a good solid base and some ceiling to go there as well. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, and again, I see you guys on Instagram. I just don't see any questions. Feel free to pop those in as soon as you have them. And let's get back to Jose. Flex for full PPR, Nyheim Hines, Allen Robinson, Mike Gesicki. Well, you know what? And I know Devontae Parker's back. We might see, some more target redistribution. But Gesicki has been productive, consistent, whether it's Tua, whether it's Jacoby Brissett. And I think you got to roll with Gesicki here. And they're playing Atlanta, and Atlanta can't really stop anybody. Atlanta has been they're a little below average against tight ends. They're worse against the receivers. But Gesicki's a receiver. He's a slot receiver. Durham Smythe and Adam Shaheen are their blocking tight ends. So really, we can't look at Gesicki as a tight end. He's a slot receiver. And I think he's fine. Allen Robinson, if there's ever a week you're going to use him, it'd be this week because Tampa's going to blitz, but they have no corners. Everybody's hurt. So Robinson could see targets short. That's assuming Fields can get the ball off. But if there's any week you're going to use Robinson, to be this one. Gesicki's safer. Gesicki has a similar ceiling based on what we've seen and what we haven't seen from Robinson. Robinson hasn't had a good game yet. And that's what we worry about here. Nyheim Hines, you know what? I just haven't seen any consistent usage out of him. You're just basically hoping that it's a game we're going to dump off. Now, heavy winds, rain all night in that game. That's going to be sloppy. Not real excited about anything with the passing game other than Michael Pittman on some slants. You can pile those up and have a good game. But to me, it's so risky on Hines. Gesicki's got to be your guy. He's just been involved. He's a big part of that offense. Michael, Kadarius Toney, when he's healthy, which has been rare to this point, he looks so good. He looks like his explosiveness and agility on the field. He looks so good. I don't think you could drop him. I think he could legitimately put a 15 fantasy points a game when he gets back. Rashad Penny, look, he's healthy now, but he's shown us just over these years, the dude just can't stay healthy. And I don't know when Chris Carson's coming back. We got more cloudiness that they don't know his timeline. But if Carson comes back, he's out. But he just can't stay on the field. And for a 1 week pickup, it's tough. I would not drop Toney right now. I'd find somebody else. I think Toney, if he gets back on the field, the way he looked in those 2 games, he could be a league winner for you. And the injury doesn't sound like it's one's going to keep him out forever. So I would not drop him. Instagram, still see you guys. No questions there, though. So feel free. I'm really happy to answer your questions. All right. Let's see what we got next here. Jose. Flex for full PPR, Nyheim Hines. Oh, we had that one already, I think. So I answered that one already. Okay. Martin, should you drop Herbert for Toney? Yes, absolutely 100%. David Robinson, the ensign, David Montgomery, he should be back soon. And when he's back, Herbert might have a part of that backfield. But you see, the problem is Herbert's not a receiving back. So it realistically sounds like Damien Williams retains the passing down role. And that's if Tariq Cohen doesn't come back. So David Montgomery is going to be the early down back. Herbert looks good, but David Montgomery is established at this point. He's been productive when he's on the field. So I don't think he's out. And so, yes, Toney, like I said, honestly, he can get you 15 points a game once he's back on the field. If you can withstand not having him for a couple of weeks with that ankle's down, I think you got to look at that. Big hand bear down. I like it. Jose, I think that's right. Hey, Jose, I think you asked that question in a couple. That's fine. I answered that already, though. We won't get sicky there. Johnny, Arizona -20. Is that what the line's up to right now? Seriously, I haven't checked the lines this morning. Oh, my gosh. Those lines have bet up to that. It's really hard to lay the Rams. I think you can. I think Sean McVay is pissed that Jared Goff kept him under wraps with his offense for a couple of seasons. And I think he is pissed and he is going to just empty the offensive playbook here and show him what the offense should have looked like when Goff was there. So I think you could spot the Rams 17.5. I think you can do that. The Arizona -20, that stuff. Houston comes to play every week. And I know that doesn't always translate, but they come to play. And they're not great, but they're not bums either. They signed a lot of 1-year veteran guys, and they're decent. And I think they could backdoor cover that. Now, I know there's a game against Buffalo we had a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was against Buffalo, they got smoked, and maybe it was them. I can't remember exactly who it was. But Arizona's dinged up a little bit, and it could be a letdown spot for Arizona. This could be one they're looking past. So that might be the way I'm looking at there. I think either lay off it or I take the 20, but it's a lot of points. And Arizona's the team laying them. That gets me a little nervous too. All right, Johnny, any chance the Bears cover? Yeah, there's always a chance, right? But Hakeem Hicks injuries, that one was concerning because the Bears had that three-man pressure thing where they've got Khalil Mack, they got Quinn, and they got Hicks. Without Hicks in there, I mean, they weren't getting pressure on Brady anyway because that offensive line is really good. And the Bears on offense, this is where I'm worried. Todd Bowles is going to blitz the hell out of Justin Fields because he's got no corners. So he's not going to let this kid sit back there and decide. He's going to force the kid's hand. And I don't think he's ready for that. And he doesn't have a rapport much with Allen Robinson. They might get some sporadic things going here. The downfield stuff to Mooney probably isn't there because of the pressure. And I think they're going to be bringing pressure from all different places. Fields ain't ready for that. So there's a chance. If I saw Fields like seeing the rush and running, I'd feel a lot better. He hasn't been taking off and running a lot. That's problematic. So there's a 20% chance the Bears cover. It's the NFL, right? We know how that works. But I do think the Bucs, this is one of those big lines that I think they cover. And see, here's the thing. The game could be lower scoring, and that helps the Bears because the Bucs might not score 40 here. The Bucs might score 28. They might score, somewhere right around there. And in that case, then the Bears have to score 14. But can they score 14? That's the question. And then Brady's unlikely to turn it over here. So I'm more likely to say the Bucs cover that. All right, Johnny, any Bears props best today? Godwin. I think I got him at 66 yards, 66 and a half. I love the over on Godwin. Again, the Bears play that shell on the top. They keep things in front of them, and Mike Evans will get his, but I don't think Evans goes off. Antonio Brown's out, Gronk's out. I just think the Bears are willing to give up the middle of the field. The players the Bears have at slot corner and in the interior, they just don't match up with a superstar player like Godwin. I think this is the week where Chris Godwin has that big game we've been waiting for. Week 1, he was 100 yards and a touchdown. He hasn't hit 75 yards since, but I think this is the week where he gets going. Instagram, I still see everybody there, but no questions. I'm going to answer them when you have them. I appreciate you being here. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's take a look at the next question here. Martin. Oh, man, of course, you're very welcome. Iron Eddie's here. Good morning to you as well. About to run to church. No change from last night. Need 2. Devonte Freeman, Collins, and Penny. Herbert, Damien, and Gaskin. Man, the Gaskin thing frustrates me. He went from a season low 23% snaps to a season high 68, and then last week he was back to the 20s. It's impossible. It is impossible to know if he's going to do anything. That's terrible. Devonte Freeman, he's going to get 8 carries. He's going to get 9 carries, and since he's good. But of all your options, I think he's not in a terrible spot here. Collins, Penny is tough. Penny is ahead of him on the depth chart. We can't trust Pete Carroll to save our lives, but he says Penny's a full go. Penny has to be ahead of Collins based on what Carroll's spoken since preseason. So that would tell me Penny's a good play here. Now, New Orleans is second in rush DVOA, though. So can they even run on them? And Khalil Herbert, good luck running on the Bucs, right? And then Damien Williams might get some passing down work. But Herbert looks good, but man, they're playing the Bucs. So you're really in a horrible spot here. That's why I'm going Freeman here. And, I'm going to take the chance on Gaskin. Again, he might get screwed on the snap share again, but I just don't like the matchups in the playtime situation between your other two pairs. So that's the way I got to go. And it's, I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's what I think here. All right. Got one on Insta. Andy. 20-team league. I love that. That's the men from the boys, right? Will Westbrook kind of get work today? Well, Chester Rogers is out. So, yes, in theory, he should. A.J. Brown goes to the slot, so he kind of might be on the outside, might play in the slot a little bit. But I think he does get work today. In the 20-team league, yeah, I think that's a very viable choice. There's always downside, that. But I think that's a viable understanding. Chester Rogers out. He played last week. Looked okay again. So I think so. It's a great question. Iron Eddie again, full PPR. Edmonds over Corey Davis. Yeah, I think so. Edmonds is off the injury report. I know they're playing Houston, but I think they're still going to run their offense. And he gets 4 to 6 targets in most games. And I think with PPR, you got to go with that. I do expect the Patriots look to take away Corey Davis and make Zach Wilson beat them with some of the other guys. Ramondre has great upside, but we don't know what Bill's going to do with him. So I really think Ramondre is your upside play. But I think Edmonds has that PPR floor that, and he hasn't scored yet, I don't think. Maybe he scored once, but he could score. And I just think Edmonds is just your better play because we know his role. We know what we're going to get. And Houston can't sell out to stop him because of the receivers and Kyler Murray. And I know that, James Conner's going to be a big part of this game. I just think Edmonds is your guy here because of that base he has in the offense. All right. Johnny, the Bears' chance to control the clock with short passing game. Yeah, they're going to have to throw short because they are going to get blitzed to hell in this game. And my guess is, as bad as their corners are, they're going to try to jam for a second at the line to get that blitz a chance to get home and really push Fields' issue. See, PTSD from that Cleveland game. And I know the protections are different. That was a game that Matt Nagy called the plays, and now lasers come. So we know we're going to get better protections. But, man, this could be similar or worse pressure because unlike the Browns where we knew the pressure was coming from, we don't know where the hell it's coming from with Todd Bowles this week. But you're right. That is their chance. That is their chance. They would have to, Komet needs to be involved. They need to get Robinson short passes because he could press coverage. Who cares? He'll beat that, but you got to get him the ball. So that is the way, Johnny. All right. One of a kind, Poppy. Lockett or Hardman? Lockett's been tough because Geno Smith and the downfield game, those don't mesh. And I think the more Geno's in, the more he's going to lean on DK because you could just throw it up and DK's going to bring it in. Lockett is a great, great NFL player, but you need to get the ball to him in a certain manner where it's not like a DK with a huge catch radius. You throw it into coverage and he'll come up with it. So I think that the quarterback will look away from that a little bit more. And I don't think Seattle's dialing up the long developing downfield plays for Geno. We saw that last week. They want to get it out of his hands a bit more quickly. Now, Mecole has been playing well. Now, the thing is, defenses were playing that big shell against Mahomes, and they were giving him underneath, and Hardman was cleaning up on that. I don't think Tennessee has the guys to do that. And so, therefore, this is a game where Tyreek's somewhat healthy. I think Kelsey's going to absolutely go nuclear here. I think we could see 140 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's that bad because Tennessee has nothing anywhere. But I think Hardman is not going to get the same level of success he had because they're not going to have to look to him. I think Mahomes is going to get to his first read a lot more this week. So I'm going to say, even though I don't think Lockett has a great ceiling here, I think Lockett has a better floor than Hardman, and I think that's why I recommend him. Johnny might be a perfect check down, Andy. Oh, my gosh, man, PTSD, right? Oh, my God, that would be a good spot for Andy. As bad as it's been and as much as Justin Fields is going to be a good quarterback, and they have to get him involved more. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I was looking at the next question. Justin Fields is going to be a good quarterback. And I do see signs of that. He stands in the pocket. He's willing to, keep going through the progressions of reads. Now he doesn't always have time to get through too many of them, but I do see the signs that he's going to be something special. So the Bears need to leave him in. They need him to take his lumps right now. But yes. All right, Robert. Mac Jones or Carson Wentz today? Normally I had to drop Wentz for Tua in a couple leagues for, I have Dak and I had to sit him. And I'm concerned with the Indy 49ers game. 2 reasons. First thing, they're both bottom 10 in pace of play. So we're going to see a slow pace game. Now the expectation is, and I should reopen the weather app here. Let me just check this real quick. Recheck the weather for this game, see if it's changed. Give me a second here. I'm just looking at the weather here. So right now, precipitation hasn't changed. It's 86 to 89% for all 4 quarters. The wind, this is important. Let me see where the wind is at for this game. It's now fourth quarter, it's less, but first half it's 16 and 14. Now the second half is a little better, 11 and 9. So it was worse forecast yesterday. I still think in the first half, the rain throughout, I think they're going to run Jonathan Taylor. They're going to do a lot of short passing. Hilton's out. Paris Campbell, not that he was a factor. He's out long term. I think Mac Jones isn't in a bad spot here. Now, I know they're going to want to run the ball, but I think ultimately the pace of play is going to be so slow that I think that we have to look away from Wentz. And Wentz is playing well. He is playing very well. I think Mac Jones has a better chance of getting you a floor this week. Wentz's floor could be very low because of the game conditions. And I just think that's problematic. And again, not having Hilton, you only had him for one game. That downfield element's kind of gone. It's really gut feel. I'm going to tell you gut feel on this one, Robert. Gut feel. If you have a gut feel on Wentz, go with it, because Mac Jones is not a great option because they could run it all day. I think he'll throw some, and he will have some success. But I'm going to say Mac Jones, but go with your gut. And I still see you guys on Instagram. Any questions, just go ahead and dump them in, guys and gals. Of course, you know I mean that when I say that, guys. It's just a general term. And, all right, next question. Randy, it is safe to drop, Trey Sermon, in my opinion. JaMychal Hasty's back. He was running ahead of Sermon earlier. Jeffrey Wilson's supposed to be back in a couple weeks. I think a couple weeks. It said November, maybe, but regardless, all right. In the 49ers backfield, any player, they run that system where they got to stick their foot in the ground and cut back. They get hurt a lot. Can Sermon be a factor? Yes. Shanahan's already shown us that Sermon is behind everybody on the depth chart. So if they get hurt, Sermon gets in, he may do something. But even in the game he started, it was painfully obvious they didn't want to give him the ball. They were running use check. They were running receivers. Now, they do that too. I get it. But it was more emphasis on getting everybody the ball than leaning on Sermon. To me, you can drop him. Hold on. You guys tell me, Race, is Ramondre Stevenson's inactive? That doesn't surprise me. That does not surprise me. I told you, Bill Belichick, right? Now, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. In pass protection, he had some issues. So that's what it is. It's pass protection. Wow. I don't even know. Brandon Bolden, Randy, tell me if JJ Taylor's active, because I wonder if they're going to get him involved in the passing game, because they can't do Brandon Bolden, I wouldn't think. Johnny, 150.5 yards on Henry. Man, if the Chiefs get out to a lead, we know they'll still run, but if the Chiefs get out to a 2-score lead, we saw this in week 1 against Arizona. Henry was neutered. 20 for 80, I think it was. So there's a 60% chance Henry goes over 150.5 yards. That's a big number. That's a big number. That's like 2,300 yard season, which he probably is in line for, right? But I would be nervous to go over on that one. All right. What kind of wide receiver and running back can I get for Eckler? Yeah. Look, Eckler, I have him as a top 6 player. Rest of schedule, not running back, player, top 6 player, rest of schedule. You would need to get a lower end running back 1 and a high end wide receiver 2. Getting more than I think your league would vote that trade down, but I think you need to get and I have no idea who are on the different rosters. I mean, like Chris Godwin and Jonathan Taylor may be too high. I don't think that somebody give you Taylor for him. I would say a lower end running back 1 and a high end wide receiver 2, and that would be it. And I'd be inclined to keep Eckler. Scott, I'm glad you asked me here. I saw you sent me a question, but I'm on these streams, dude. I appreciate you, man. All right. I like Jamison Crowder. I like him this week. I think that the Patriots are going to look to slow down Corey Davis. They're going to try to take him away. They always try to take somebody away. And I think they're not worried about the middle of the field so much. And I think Crowder will be a really good check down option for Zach Wilson here. New England, of course, we figured they would shut him down the first time. I think he's a little better this time. They've seen him. He's seen what they've had. The coach's game plan a little bit. Belichick will still have other answers, but I think that he moves the ball a little better this game. I think Crowder's a good play. Watkins, the problem is we only see a few targets. Now, I do think that the pass rush for the Raiders isn't going to be as good as it's been because the Eagles line can neutralize Crosby and Ngakoue. So, but I think the lack of targets for Watkins, that makes him troubling. Whereas Crowder has some upside too, because he's used in the red zone. He can get open in the red zone if they get down there. So I think that's good. Yep. Thanks, Scott. Good to see you, man. All right. Sterling Shepard inactive. Thank you for him. Yeah, we kind of anticipated that one. I'm glad you told me. Any inactives you see, please let me know. That's an important part of this. So, because I can't watch him at this point in time. Yeah, so Sterling Shepard's inactive. It's a mess. It's a mess. Kadarius Toney's out. Kenny Galladay's out. They're in so much trouble. And I tell you what, the Giants, they're playing Carolina. Carolina has like their 16th in pressure rate, whereas the Giants are the second worst pass blocking rate, and they're without their left tackle. We saw Carolina dominate bad offenses earlier in the season. I think this is a game where that's going to be more of what we're going to see here. Randy, all right, so this is an interesting one. Khalil Herbert or Sony Michel, half PPR. I think that with the point spread what it is, I do fully expect the Rams to win in a blowout. I can't see McVay wasting carries on Darrell Henderson in a blowout win. He knows he needs to preserve him. He's talked about it since preseason. I think Michel gets very involved in this game in the second half. I think in the fourth quarter alone, he could see 7 carries. Khalil Herbert, I'm worried because, look, we're playing the Bucs. You can't run on the Bucs, especially with that offensive line. You can't run on the Bucs. And now Damien Williams is in. That's going to be passing down work if there's any. So I'm saying Sony here because of the situation. Julia, good to see you as well. Nice. Glad you're here. And I'm still looking at Insta. No questions there. If you haven't, just shoot them my way. All right. Oh, Randy, Devontae Parker inactive. So you know what? I love Gesicki this week. Just absolutely love Gesicki this week because remember, Atlanta's numbers are better against tight ends. They're like 17th. They're horrible against receivers. Gesicki is a slot receiver. And so I think, of course, Jalen Waddle's going to see us too. Jalen Waddle's going to see, it's going to be those two. Those two guys are going to eat. And this is a big shootout potential game too. Oh, Johnny, I love these off the script questions. Jeremy Shockey or LG Crumpler. You know what? Jeremy Shockey, man, I remember when he came in the league as a rookie. I remember they didn't throw shovel passes to tight ends, but I remember they did in his first game. He ran over a couple people and had a big play. He's what the position's about. It was like Mark Bavaro back in the 80s. I don't know how old you are, but then it was like Jeremy Shockey. These dudes were fun to watch. LG Crumpler had a couple moments in the sun, but other than that, he was kind of ordinary. And Shockey didn't always have great seasons, but yeah, I love Shockey. All right. Sons, I'm not going to, Sons, Staste. I'm sorry, I can't say your name, but it's a great name. Michelle, Juszczyk, or Bolden. So, yeah, with Ramondre Stevenson, Bolden could see a little work here. And I don't know if J.J. Taylor's active or not, so that could be possible here as well. I'm going to say Sony. I mentioned him a couple moments ago. I think that the Rams can win in blowout fashion, and if they do, I think they're going to spell Darrell Henderson because McVay knows he can't overwork him. And so I think Sony could see a lot of carries in the fourth quarter of this game. So I think that's something that we're going to look at here. Let's see what we got next here. Scott, Stafford, Henderson, and Kupp. Yes, I mean, and Henderson for as long as he plays. I was just saying that I could see him coming out late, but he could do damage and a half in this game. I think they're going to go crazier. Cooper Kupp, and you guys heard me say this in the preseason. I was excited for Cooper Kupp, and my bold prediction was he was a top 5 receiver, and my hesitation was I didn't go high enough with him because all I saw for years was McVay would scheme Kupp, as I say, wide ass open. Every game, every time he was schemed open. And Jared Goff would often not lead him with the pass, would miss him, not see him. Well, I knew when Stafford was there, well, Stafford ain't going to miss him. He's going to be schemed open, and Stafford's not going to get the ball there. He's going to get it there with zip, and he's going to lead him, and it's going to get the better yak. And so, yeah, no, Kupp, the only game he got slowed down a little bit was the game that we talked about. We said that Woods would get force-fed in that Thursday night game. He had 14 targets, and he was force-fed. But and that really, even though they played well, that set them back. That their offense was not humming as it should. And I think McVay realizes that. So they all should be fine here. They're going to take the foot off the gas at some point. But I think Stafford Stafford should get 4 touchdowns here, right? Ricardo Hernandez, Waller, A.J. Brown, Damian Williams at the flex. So Waller may not play. And we're very concerned there. Now, let me just look at the time on these games. I think, with the Tennessee game being an early game and the Raiders being a late game, I think you got to go A.J. Brown, because if Waller doesn't play, you're screwed. Damien Williams wouldn't be a good fallback, because Khalil Herbert's going to be like starting at running back. Williams would be the passing down back, but they're playing the Bucks. I got to go A.J. Brown here, because we can't trust Waller. A late week setback, and Field Yates had the report that it's a game time decision, and really it's not looking great for him. I think you'd bank the points here with A.J. Brown. Kavan. There's a question not going up there. It is Darrell Williams or Devontae Booker? You know what? Darrell Williams. Tennessee can't stop anything. They're going to run some, and he got like a 72% snap share last week. So I think he's absolutely fine. Booker, you know what? Booker is what he is. He's a replacement level back, and he can have good games. He came in against Dallas, scored 2 touchdowns. But Carolina has been very good against bad offenses. And right now, the Giants are a bad offense. They're missing their left tackle, and they were a bad line to start. So I'm very concerned for them there. So, yeah, I think that's absolutely your route to go. Darrell Williams is your way to go. I think Williams is just safer and similar ceiling. I think you got to go that route. PNLB 1234. Jamal Williams or AJ Dillon at PPR. You do have Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams has seen his snap share shrink over the last 3 weeks. Swift was like 73, 74, and 78, whereas Williams is now down to like 20% player. AJ Dillon's getting like 8 to 13 touches a week. So I think that we say right now, Dillon's role is more secure in the offense. Jamal Williams is getting phased out for Swift. Swift is now like the passing down back, and in the game they're probably going to trail heavily. I think Dillon's safer. Williams may get in as a passing down back, but it would be going against what they've done lately. And so I got to ride the trend and say I'll go with that. And Ricardo, you're very welcome. All right. Yeah, top 5 running backs in fantasy in order. You know what? I'm going to have to open my list to get that. So let me get the questions, and I can come back to that when I open up the doc of my, maybe I can get this right now for you. I can get my rest of schedule open. In the meantime, see if I can get the next question there. Get my rankings, rest of season. Click on running back here. All right, on the way here. Let's see. I'll tell you who I got. Daley Cook, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, and Zeke Elliott. Those are my top 5 in order. All right. Let's see here. Randy, A-Rob, Ruggs, Bateman, or Hardman, you need 2. So Ruggs gets it done on a few targets. I don't like his matchup. Slay's playing better. They're actually getting good play across the secondary in Philly right now. So it's not a great matchup. And I do think Philly's going to get pressure. So Ruggs is a little bit of a concern. Bateman, so he kind of takes over the Sammy Watkins role. He was getting about 40 yards a week. But the truth is that Cincy has been like a very good defense against the run and the pass. So I don't think there's a great matchup for Bateman, and I don't know how much they're going to go his way. Hardman, the issue I have with Hardman is he has done very well in the last few games because teams have played that deep shell on the Chiefs designed to take away a little bit of Tyreek, and they've been putting a little extra attention on Kelsey as well. And Mahomes is taking what's been given to him, and that's been Hardman. Well, this week, Tennessee has nobody. They have their defense is horrible. They have one good corner, and he's on IR now. So I think this week is all about Kelsey, and if Hill's healthy, Hill. I don't think Hardman gets that same level of involvement. So I'm going to say this. A-Rob, if there's any week we're going to try him, it's this week because they're going to have to get the ball out quickly. He's their opportunity. He sucked all year. I get it. But probably based on your options, I think A-Rob has a chance to at least do something. And I think Ruggs, based on his track record, and Derek Carr throws a nice deep pass. And Ruggs is faster than the guys that are going to defend him. So I'm going to go with those two here. I just think Bateman's matchup is tough and his role isn't secure enough yet. And Hardman, again, I just think the way the defense is going to play today, they're going to be able to handle that. J.J. Taylor is active. So if you're really stuck in a league here and you need a late running back to add, which I won't be able to add now because I'm doing this in 12 minutes, it'll probably be gone. But J.J. Taylor could be involved as a receiver in this game. Now, you could get a 0 out of him. But if you're desperate for a flex and there's a lot of guys out, a lot of guys hurt, Taylor is explosive. Small, but explosive. So he could come up and do something for you here. Randy, best home run potential in non-PPR. Desean Jackson. I actually circled him as a player this week because I think that Sean McVay wants to show Jared Goff what that offense could and should have been while he was there. And I think really he's salty about it. And I think Desean Jackson could have a big player too. Now, that's the home run potential. So best home run potential, it's D-Jax this week. Here's the problem with both Prater and Butker. Their offenses are probably going to score a lot of touchdowns and not a lot of field goals. I think Prater has a better chance of seeing field goal chances than Butker, because Houston, they have some professionals on defense. They're not great, but they have some veterans. They could cause some third down breakdowns. So I lean Prater, and Prater could kick a bomb too. If they need to kick like a bomb at the end of the half or something, 58 yards, he can nail that. So probably Prater. Scott, anybody on Instagram? Any questions? No. Okay. I look good here. All right. Scott, do I think Ryan, Ridley, Pitts, Gage, and Patterson has sneaky value? You know what? I don't know how sneaky it is. I was on him early in the week, and I heard other people throughout the week. I think a lot of sharp people are on this game and pivoting off the Kansas City, Tennessee game as the game to stack in DFS. And I think there are so many different parts that this game that you can stack. Any of them do. You can Dolphins, Falcons. You know what? The player I'm fading is Ridley, because I think everybody's on Ridley. I think Ridley 6,600 coming off a bye. He was a personal issue thing. I think everybody's on Ridley this week. So I think if you're playing in a tournament, you got to fade him, because I think his ownership is going to be insane. So I think you fade him and you go elsewhere. And that's what I would say. And love the Dolphin side. And I decided to go with Tua over Ryan on my stack. But so I don't think it's sneaky. I think a lot of people are on this. So you're going to have to make sure whatever you take. So if you want to be sneaky, then I think you go without Ridley and you go with two of the other Falcons. And I think that differentiates you from the crowd. Boring games today. Casey and Tennessee might make us think otherwise, but you're right. Other than that, there are a lot of boring games today. You are. Yeah, I'm looking at the slate. Wow. Philly and Vegas, that should be fun. You're right. Oh my gosh. I look at every game for possibilities, and I look at now the slate now that you say it, but we'll enjoy it anyway because it's NFL football. Great fantasy and prop bet games. Yeah, for sure. Johnny, KC, Titans over 62.5. Here's the problem with that big number like that. If we have a couple of turnovers in the red zone for either team, that sabotages it. That's the only thing. Otherwise, neither team can stop either team, but we've seen both teams make mistakes and turnovers. So that number is so big, you can't have those turnovers. So you're basically betting against turnovers in the red zone. Then again, they could turn into points. Well, yeah, it's where, like, if they turn over in their own end, that's good. But if they're turning over in the red zone, now all of a sudden the Guardians got to go the full field. It's probably 60% they hit that, but there's a lot of scenarios where they don't. Darrell Williams, right up. Got to go Darrell Williams, right? He saw like 70% of the snaps last week. A-Rob hasn't had a good game yet. Tennessee's terrible. I almost got to say at this point Darrell Williams, because McKinnon's not a factor. So you almost got to say Darrell Williams. He's involved. McKissick, we were talking on the Sirius show with Mario yesterday, and Mario's like, my God, McKissick could see Alex Smith level targets this week, like 18 of them. And I smile, yep, he probably could. McKissick's a play. I'm using him in DFS. I a punt running back at 5,000. He's like 5,000 on DraftKings. If he gets 7 catches, pays off that number pretty quick, right? They're probably going to trail. Green Bay should score points on them. And if they're going to go to the passing stuff, we've seen them not using Gibson. They've been using McKissick. So, no, McKissick's a real reasonable play this week. John, should you start McKissick over Gibson? Non-PPR. That's where it gets dicey, right? McKissick is like, man, he's not efficient, but he catches passes. Non-PPR, Gibson's in the lineup. You know what? Here's what I like about Gibson this week. He practiced on Thursday. So I thought that was promising because they could have sat him, but they didn't. I'm going to say Gibson because Gibson has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. If you got a gut call, go with it, because game script is going to mean everything here. And it's so tough to sit Gibson because we know he's a star, but he's hurt. But they could sit him and they're not. So I'm going to say Gibson, but it's 60-40. And not 55-40. It was more like 60-40. I think there's a bigger gap there. But you can make a case for him. The non-PPR, though, maybe makes a 65-35 Gibson. If it was even half PPR, then it'd be way closer. Good question. Oh, no worries. It's still a good question. Randy, my crystal ball or my ball dome. I don't know which it is. Do I think Tyson or Sermon has more of a chance to be relevant this season? Oh, Tyson. Because they're all those old guys in the backfield for Baltimore that could get hurt, and they may be forced. Jose, good luck to you as well, man. So, yeah, that's something to consider. But I think Tyson, because he's a good runner. It's clear Coach Harbaugh doesn't trust him in pass pro and in the finer details of the game. The kid will learn them. He's a young player, and he's got to learn these things, especially playing for a disciplined coach like Coach Harbaugh. But I really think it's Tyson has more chance to be relevant. Scott. All right, let's see. What do I think of Devonte Freeman today? 9 carries, maybe 11. Tyson probably plays. I don't know if he's inactive or not. I can't watch the inactive reports while we're going on here. But it's going to be the same workload he's seen. Now, Cincinnati's 4th in rush DVOA, so it's not a good matchup. But the Lamar Jackson factor, the mobile quarterback, does open up running lanes. Defense have to play them so differently. So I think Freeman has a reasonable chance of getting you 40 to 50 yards. He looks like he has some juice, though. And if they get in the red zone, he has a chance to score. So I think that 6 teams on bye, a lot of injured players, a reasonable player. Yeah, I talked about this one earlier, Scott. Basically, the Bears play a shell, and they keep things in front of them, and Antonio Brown's out. Yeah, I called for a huge Godwin game today. I think he had 100 yards and touchdown week 1. He hasn't hit 75 yards since, and he hasn't scored since. But it is a great week for Godwin. I don't see too many scenarios where he doesn't. The Bears can't match. It's not that the Bears are terrible against the slot, but they can't handle a guy like Godwin. The Bears' corners have been better than expected, but I don't think they handle Godwin in any way. I think Brady goes there a lot. Gronk's out again, so I think he goes there a lot. Should I parlay Texans, Lions, Bears, money line, retire early? Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, it's a great money line bet. I wonder what you're getting return on that, but, Texans. Oh, wait, Texans. You got to mean Cardinals, right? Yeah, I think you mean Cardinals. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I totally get it. You're looking at all the losing sides. Yeah, you would be able to retire early. I'd be like the lotto. Wow. Could you imagine that? I see the odds on that one. Wow. That'd be huge. Eli, Mitchell, or Gibson? Good question, Brian. So the last time Garoppolo was at quarterback, Mitchell saw 19 carries. This game is expected to have rain for 4 quarters, and it's expected to be heavy winds in the first half, windy but a little less in the second half. I think it's a great running game for them. I think the running scheme is going to give Indy trouble. Indy's typically good against the run, but the Shanahan running scheme bodes well. Gibson, we're just worried. We're worried that is he going to play the whole game? He was very limited last week. I'm excited he practiced this week, but you're giving me another option. That's a good option. And so I'm almost like Mitchell's going to be safer here, I think. And I think Mitchell has similar upside because he can get going here and he's healthy now. That bye came at a good time for him. So I'm going to say Eli Mitchell just because I'm concerned about Gibson having setback or getting pulled. That could be a little bit nervous. Instagram, if you have any questions, let me know. I got a few minutes left here. All right, let's see. 16, man, half PPR. Penny, Jones, or Gainwell. I assume you mean Ronald Jones. Why don't you type that in for me on Alfonso? Type that in the bottom so I know which one I want to answer it without answering. I'll tell you, Gainwell, 4 touches over the last 2 weeks. He's getting phased out. Miles Sanders' snap share is up to 80% last week. He's seen very high snap share 3 weeks in a row. So I think, it's Mario on my series. I think Mario may have said this, but maybe ownership kind of stepped in and said, look, we want the 2nd round guy, not the 5th round guy in the lineup. And maybe that's what happened. Penny's a reasonable play, but the problem is that we're not completely sure to trust Pete Carroll. Will Alex Collins be involved or not? Second one is New Orleans is 2nd best rush defense in DVOA per Football Outsiders. So it's not a good matchup for him. Seahawks line is not great. But if it's Ronald Jones, you're talking, that's problematic too. So if it's Ronald Jones, he's not getting any work. So I would probably say Penny. I would probably lean to Penny there. Oh, good, Randy. Tyson is active today. So, yeah, so back to that Freeman question. Yeah, about 9 touches. Tyson's going to probably see about the same. Tyson's not a bad play. Not a bad play. They all are going to – I mean, remember, I said earlier, Cincinnati's 4th in rush DVOA. They're tough to run against. So But I think, again, Lamar opens up some running lanes. So, yeah, decent plays, all of them. None of them great, but all decent. Johnny, temperature in Tampa, any effect in the game? For the Bears, maybe. Assuming it's Tampa's home field, they practice there. It shouldn't be problematic for them. It could be tough for the Bears, just so they need another strike against them. But, yeah, I assume playing at home, that's what you're used to. Like Brady was in New England, they were used to the cold weather. You get used to it. So I think they should be fine there. But it's a great question. But yeah, more for the Bears. I mean, I think that makes the Bucs look even better. John, should you drop Jamal Williams, pick up AJ Green? Yeah, Jamal Williams' snap share has gone down to like 20-something% in the last few weeks. They're using Swift more. Like last 3 weeks, 73, 74, 78% snaps. So yeah, at this point, I mean, AJ Green gets 6 targets in every game except for one, and he's been good. And so at this point, yeah, I think so. Who's the one guy you're on? It was Godwin. It was Godwin all along. That's the only prop I put out on the Sirius show, I think, was Godwin. That was the one. Dallas Goddard, good, because I like his matchup. And also, I think that with Ertz gone, Ertz was running a lot of routes, seeing a lot of targets, and it was really at the expense of Goddard. So I think Goddard isn't really in good line for a good game here. Alfonso. Yeah, Ronald Jones. Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Alfonso. So yeah, I'm gonna say Penny. I don't like the matchup, but Ronald Jones is just isn't seeing any work. And the Bears are good against the run. So that's the other thing. The Bears are good run defense. Whereas I think that Fournette as a receiver could do a little work, and Fournette is personally just better running back. We can argue with that, but that's fine. I think Penny's in the better spot here. It's a good call, tough call. Oh man. So Lions, Texans, Bears money line. Odds $100 bet to win $70,000. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine winning the first 2 games? The Bears are the only late game, I believe. And then the Bears like losing when like a last second fumble or something. Oh my God. That would be like the medical costs would be more. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Yeah, Alfonso, I think we got you covered. You're very welcome, man, for sure. Well, look, we're at 11 here. Bad weather in San Francisco. Yeah, I went over that one. I said that. I think Pittman's fine. I think Debo's fine. They both catch the ball short by the line of scrimmage. I think they're both fine. The running games are going to be a little more heavily impacted here. And I think Quentin Nelson's back for the Colts. So I think the running game is on track here. And the 49ers scheme, that should be well enough to take advantage of an Indy defense that they're number 1 in rush DVOA, but I still think that the Shanahan system is going to be just fine there. So yeah, I think so. That's the only one. I don't like the quarterbacks. I don't like either quarterback there, Scott. I dropped Wentz in some leagues. It picked up 2 on, started him. All right, everybody. I hope everybody has. Oh wait, one more question. Mike Welch. Sorry, I didn't see that here. Mike, I missed this question. So, I think Godwin blows up this week. I think I kind of mentioned that because the Bears played at shell, and I think they're going to give up underneath, and Brady's happy to take it. And then would I drop Mooney or Corey Davis? That's a tough one. Mooney's had some good games, and when the matchup's right, he's good. Corey Davis has a little worse quarterback situation. If you have to drop one, I would probably drop Davis just because I think that ultimately Crowder's going to be involved. Mooney has been fairly successful. Mooney's had, I know that Davis had that really big week. We called that one a few weeks back against his former team, Tennessee. But I think otherwise, Corey Davis is going to struggle because of his quarterback, not because of Corey Davis. So I think it's close. If you have a gut feel, go with it. But I tend to keep Mooney because Mooney has shown good chemistry. It won't happen today because of the blitz that they're going to see. But I think Mooney has been a pretty stabilizing force. Scott, you're very welcome. Randy, yep, thanks, man. I got to get some lunch. I got some lasagna today. Favorite prop bet today? It's going to be Chris Godwin over 66.5 yards. That's the one I like there. All right, Mike, you're very welcome. All right, everybody. I hope everybody has the best of luck today. Have a wonderful time watching those games, and I will look forward to talking to everybody soon. Bye. Johnny, all right, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate you as well. Scott, appreciate you too. Thanks.